Hello, welcome to Lil's Vintage World and welcome to quite a chatty video. Sorry, I'm just getting comfortable. Yeah, this is just going to be a real chatty video just talking about my master's degree because I finished my master's degree. I have heard back from university and I'm going to let you know how I got on, whether I have passed my master's or not. So I'm very briefly going to talk about getting onto the course that I did, why I wanted to do it. I'm going to talk about my dissertation as well, and then yeah, talk about how I got on and stuff. So way back when, in 2013, I graduated with my BA in sociology, and I wanted a break from academia, and I did. I had a really good old break. But I always kind of knew that I wanted to do something in history, either to do another undergrad or to do a master's. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself and do a master's. So I started looking for masters in 2020. And my friend who was doing a master's part-time said, whichever one you choose, have in mind what you want to do for your dissertation. Because that first year that you do, it rolls around so quickly and your dissertation year will be there before you know it. So when I was looking at courses, that's what I had in mind. And originally my idea for my dissertation, for my MA in history, I was thinking I want to write about my first love of history, which is the Tudors. And I was thinking I want to write about Elizabeth I and Robert Dudley. I wasn't really thinking the practicality of the fact that I don't live near London and trains from, well, it'd have to be from Birmingham to London, are very expensive. I don't know why they're so expensive from Birmingham to London, but they are. And I'd have to do that quite often to go to the archives and things like that. So I wasn't really thinking that practically, I was just thinking with my passion. And then when I started to look at certain universities of the MA that provide an MA in history, with like distance learning and stuff like that, it just kind of didn't work out. There was one that I was kind of on the fence with, but the Tudor period was actually not focusing on the Tudor period in Britain. It was in Europe. It was around like Spain, that type of area, during the period, and I was like, oh no, because sometimes if you don't study it in the MA, you then can't write about it for the dissertation. So I was like, okay, maybe not. But my friend who gave me the advice, she was doing her master's and she did her undergrad as well with the OU, the Open University. And so I had a look there at the master's course that they ran. She's an MA in history. And it sounded great. So that's the one that I applied to. And that looked at British and Irish history between the years 1750 and 1950. So I was a good couple of hundred years out to write about the Tudors and any of my Tudor ladies, but I could then write about my second love of history, which is the women's suffrage movement, because the dates just worked perfectly. And that's kind of what I had in mind for my dissertation when kind of applying. And funnily enough, when you start your course, the tutors do kind of say, have an idea in your mind, because it rolls around very quickly. And so I began my OU journey in October of 2020. We remember that year very well, don't we? And I handed in my dissertation in January of 2023. So it's a 2.5-year course. I don't want to talk about the course too much because it is going to change. There's still going to be an MA in history, I believe, but it might be quite different to what I've done. So the first year, I had a tutor who was wonderful, and there were 4 TMAs, tutor marked assessments, and you know, as you do your TMAs, you know, what is expected of you is higher, your ability should be higher, and my lecturer was lovely, my tutor. My first assignment that I did, score all right, the second one went up, and then my third one plummeted. I completely missed it. I think I got a bit confused, and she got in touch with me rather than the other way around, and she said, let's have a one-to-one and let's have a discussion before you hand in your next one. Let's make sure you're on the right track, which is really, really kind of her. She was wonderful. I didn't have her for my next year because in your first year for your final assignment, which is an EMA, so it's not marked by your tutor, it's externally marked. It's in 2 parts. One part is like a dissertation proposal, and the other is like a fake chapter of your dissertation, so to speak. And it's deciding, you know, is this a good topic? Does it fit in with the correct dates? Have you got something to say on the subject? But also, does it fit into the theme? So the course focused on local history. I mean, local history you could live in Cornwall but write about Newcastle upon Tyne. That's still local history because it's a small area. Their idea, which is quite sound, was that if you are looking at your local area, it should be easier to access archives and libraries and things like that. Perfectly sound. So that was the kind of one area of this course. The other was it had to fit in one of the 6 themes. So I can't remember all of them, but it's like religion was one, urbanisation, industrialisation, crime was another. And I kind of did full circle really, because for my undergraduate dissertation, I wrote about female murderers. And here, for my MA, I wanted to write about the criminal suffragettes. So it's like full circle, women in crime, women committing crimes. That's essentially what I really like to write about. And that was what I sent off for my EMA. And yeah, it got accepted and I got onto my second part of the course. The course is ran like any other course. So it's ran in modules, you know, you have ran in credits, sorry. So you have to do achieve a certain amount of credit to get onto the next part of the course. I was very worried I wasn't going to pass first year actually, but I did, really pleased. And then, as I said, my first year tutor was just my first year tutor. My tutor changed, and my tutor specialised in kind of women of that period, you know, changing of the century. Extremely knowledgeable on the subject. Now, I think lectures with the OU are very interesting because in the first year there was probably like 1 lecture a month online. So I never saw someone face to face. They do often have open days, but of course this was a very different time, 2020 and 2021, wasn't it? Very different time. So I never actually saw a tutor in the flesh, but I saw them virtually. Second year there wasn't as many lectures because of course they kind of just went, this is how you write a dissertation, and then everyone was doing different things, so that makes perfect sense. And off they went to write, and I loved writing my dissertation. I remember my undergrad dissertation, I handed it in about a week early, just because I was like, I've had enough of seeing it now. I've had enough, and it was getting me down. I was just like, send it off. Even though I was writing with friends next to me, they're at someone's house or at libraries, you know, I just had enough of it. Whereas my master's dissertation, absolutely loved writing it. I could have done another 5 years on that, absolutely. I don't feel like I had enough time with it, and I just felt like I could have kept going. The thing is, when you're talking about something like the women's suffrage movement, there's so much primary source evidence available, and you can't do it all. I ran out of time to do it all, so yeah, another 5 years, 10 years, that would be grand, but never mind. And what did I write about? What was my dissertation about? So, as I said, local history, and the suffragettes. So I wrote about the suffragettes of Birmingham. And the reason why I chose Birmingham, quite simply, is because, well, it's local to me, but also Birmingham had quite a presence for the suffragettes. I had to write on one of the themes, which is crime, so I had to write about these criminal suffragettes. Now, you know, these suffragettes that were committing criminal acts punishable by law, and the Birmingham suffragettes, they were on it. And, you know, there were certain people that I feel like don't get enough acknowledgement for their part of the women's suffrage movement. And, you know, we hear often names over and over again, and there's certain women perhaps I'll do, you know, videos, separate videos on these women of Birmingham, because they were absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. You know, they were giving up so much of their time, so much of their lives devoted to the cause of women's suffrage. You know, and they're the reason why I go and vote whenever, you know, elections come up and stuff. We had a local election recently. I went and voted, of course I did. And the reason why, because of these suffragettes, you know, and, you know, they're names that you don't hear a lot of. And I mean, there's so many up and down the country, let's be honest. But, you know, there's more names that are starting to come out, but I just wish some Birmingham suffragettes would be out there anyway. But things like the event that happened at Bingley Hall when the Prime Minister came, and then there were so many arrests made, and then hunger striking, which was just common practice back at that time, was being undertaken in the prison, Winson Green. But then force feeding for the first time, that's at Winson Green. That was at Birmingham. And it's fascinating. And when you look at like how the Pankhurst and wrote about the women of Birmingham, you know, there's this part in Emmeline Pankhurst's autobiography that she wrote, My Own Story, and she wrote about the women of Birmingham being brave women, and I thought it was wonderful. And I just, yeah, I absolutely loved writing it. And it was, I could whitter on all day about the suffragettes of Birmingham, but they were as fearsome as any other suffragettes up and down the country. They're absolutely wonderful. So that's what my dissertation was on. I was looking at the Birmingham suffragettes and their criminal militant actions, essentially. And I just absolutely loved it. So that was my dissertation. So how did I get on? Well, I passed. I am so pleased to say that I now not only have a BA in sociology, but I also have an MA. So I'm Bachelor of Arts and Master of Arts, and I am so chuffed, and I'm so proud of myself. And whenever I look at my degree certificate, which at one point we are going to get it framed and put on the wall, yeah, and whenever I look at that, I'm just like, I did that. I am a million % sure that the only reason why I passed my Masters is because of my passion for history. I am not academically gifted when it comes to writing. My spelling and grammar is atrocious. I'm very aware of that. However, I do have a very supportive family that will read my stuff before I send it off, and they'll be like, this sentence makes no sense. And I'm like, it does in my head. My ideas are there, but I can't write it, essentially. And so I do generally think the only reason why I passed is because I just love the subject so much. I mean, I've been reading about the women's suffrage for years and years, and it's just, when you're writing about something that you're passionate about, it's so much easier. But yes, so I now have a Master's in History, and I want to say thank you to you, because I have had so many wonderful comments over the last couple of years, you know, supporting me in my journey to go back to university and going back into education, being obviously older, a mature student, shall we say. And yeah, the support that I've had has been really, really wonderful. So thank you so much if you're one of those people that have dropped a comment over the years, or wishing me luck and stuff like that. So thank you so much. What am I going to do with it now? I'm going to hang it on my wall and I'm just going to be very proud of it. I don't know career-wise what's going to happen. But the reason why I wanted to do it was never an end goal of a career. It was, I want to do it because I love history. And to have a Master's in History is incredible. I have thought that perhaps I could write, when I feel up to writing again, about some of the forgotten suffragettes or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm very proud of myself that this thing that I've loved you know, since I was like 8 years old has now finally become something that I can physically show people, that I'm not just this crazy person that is just obsessed with history. I now have a master's degree in it, and yeah, you don't have to be academically gifted to do it. You can achieve it through passion alone. So yeah, there we go. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to have a chatty video, which I know I've rambled, apologies, where I just kind of say, I've passed my masters. I'm absolutely thrilled that I've passed my masters, and yeah, I still love the suffragettes. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support, and I shall see you soon for the next video. Bye for now.